Hi, welcome to Module Unit Lecture 7, Part 1, the Introduction and Overview. So this week should be relatively easy because we're talking about professional learning communities. And the thing about them is that most of us have or have heard of, have either participated or have heard of what these are. So this should not be new information necessarily, although it should be information that you can find useful for starting your plans for next year and how you organize your systems to support effective student learning. So within PLCs, you know, they are collaborative groups that serve as opportunities for peer observations, mentoring, and diverse perspectives to teaching approaches. And they can also extend into other stakeholders who may have an interest in improving the education outputs of students. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just teachers, but in this unit, we will explore professional learning communities and their impact on improving instructional approaches. The objectives are pretty simple: purpose and approaches to creating and participating in a professional learning community. Also, strategies for utilizing professional learning communities and meeting set professional development goals. And then finally, by the end, I'm hoping that you'll see maybe not necessarily ways that you'll start to contemplate ways of teacher-led observations. I was a part of a school that did that very successfully, and it can be done here through your PLC. Also, processes for implementing learning community resources within the process of obtaining professional learning outcomes. So the whole goal of this is to use your resources. Even if your school has not delegated necessarily a team to be a PLC, you can create one of your own. So don't feel like if you don't have one, this is not relative to your experience, because one can be created. As we get into this week, we will apply all things that we've learned in addition to aspects of the midterm to the perspective of using a PLC to grow professionally. You only have two things due by the end of the week. The one thing that's really large is obviously the final project check-in. It has a lot of parts to it, so please make sure you focus on the directions and that you also consider all the parts of the rubric. This is not something you want to rush into or rush to complete. My recommendation would be that you split it up into sections, so each section you complete a different time, or just make sure you separate it by section to make sure that you are actually completing the entire project. A lot of you do a great job at this already, but some of you kind of put the parts together and then it becomes a little difficult to give you feedback on the parts that you need to improve. So for the sake of the draft, I would highly recommend that you be sure to have all of the areas for the project listed and then complete them within that frame and then rearrange it on your own. And there is no set frame for this. There's no chart that you need to complete or anything. The directions have been modified to adjust to the dates of where we are currently in the summer. So please make sure you focus on that and you ask any questions as you review it. You should be getting an email from me today with any and all of the changes for the final project. So please make sure you read it and ask any questions. But I think that's all for this week. There's also some example videos that you may find very useful. So please feel free to save the YouTube links. And I think that's about it. If you have any questions, please make sure you email me. Have a great start to your week.